Thank you, friends, for coming out today. I know that sometimes you may be asking yourself, what is the point when it seems that nobody is listening? The live streaming of a genocide to our phones continues unabated, and our governments and the media try to gaslight us into denying what our eyes are seeing, while simultaneously offering material support for these crimes against humanity. But there is a point. We are the moral compass of our island community. We are the light holders, and that has to mean something, as the other light holders throughout history meant something. When we take the time to reflect upon their example and remember that their actions did eventually lead to change, we can find resource, strength, and endurance. It is true that we should not need to keep coming out to say that it is not okay for children and civilians to be slaughtered. But the uncomfortable truth is that our governments and systems around the world have failed us in the most grotesque way. And therefore it comes down to us as ordinary folk to continue our resistance to this great crime of our age, to use our voices, our legal mechanisms and moral means, including through supporting the call to boycott, sanction and divest from Israel, and those that support it, and encourage others to do likewise. As I say this, I am very aware that there is something that needs to be acknowledged, as it is a point that has been raised with me on several occasions recently. Yes, there may be a cost to speaking out. Not always, but there may be. We might lose certain friends or associates, maybe more, as I well know. But let's remember that this has always been the case when speaking out against systems of oppression, against the war machine, against those who benefit from the destruction of communities, because too many wish to ignore the injustice, not wanting their comfortable lives to be disturbed by it. But there is a much greater cost to us when we do nothing, when we stay silent, when we absolve ourselves of the moral responsibility. Without the willingness for people to use their voices and agency, nothing changes. Worse than that, it entrenches behaviours and systems that endanger us all, and ensures our descent into a world that will rob us not just of our rights, our dignity, but our very lives and the lives of those we love. It undermines not just the moral fabric of our communities, but that of ourselves and our families. As Julian Assange said, every time we witness an injustice and do not act, we train our character to be passive in its presence, and thereby eventually lose all ability to defend ourselves and those we love. However, what I also know to be true, and I really want to reassure you concerning, is that although we may lose some things, we will gain so much more. Not just a clear conscience, which means we will not be haunted by guilt, but we receive the blessing of recognizing and attracting the truest, steadfast, morally principled friends, and their weight, friends, is worth more than gold. They are the only individuals it is worth journeying through this complicated thing called life with. We can have a tendency as humans, when looking back on previous causes for humanity that have been won, to minimize or sanitize the journey to victory and forget what it actually took to win our freedoms, our rights, to get justice. We might watch movies with emotive soundtracks and imagine somehow that it was quick, easy, but unfortunately, this has never been the case. Whether it was the fight for workers' rights, women's suffrage, civil rights, the end of apartheid in South Africa, and on, it took an accumulation of acts over an extended period of time, each individual and group adding their bits until the critical mass was achieved. It required endurance and a commitment to the pursuit of justice, and so, as then, this time demands nothing less from us. This is a fight for the very soul of us as a species, about whether we are going to allow genocide to become normalized or whether we are going to say, no, we will not allow a people to be annihilated on our watch.
Yes!
As I consider this, I need to share that one of the things that has horrified me during this time, as we have witnessed the shredding of babies, the burning alive of families, of young men attached to IVs, the collecting of children in plastic bags by their parents. And it is how many people who purport to be Christian, including politicians and those in communities who have also been victims of settler colonialism, support these actions because of their religious ideology. And I want to put this question now to them. Which of Jesus' teachings are you reflecting on exactly when you justify the slaughter of innocents? Is it the golden rule of doing unto others as you would have them do to you? Or is it when he told us to love your neighbour as yourself? I feel compelled to remind these individuals of how Jesus in Matthew chapter 7, after stating that his disciples would be identified not by their words, but rather by their fruits, their actions, referred to those who did not act according to his teachings of love as workers of lawlessness. True Christianity is a verb, not a noun. I recently read a post that featured the following words of Palestinian creator Noor Jarrar. Palestine is no longer just a state. It has become a state of mind that transcends a physical land with borders. How true that is. Palestine has awoken us all and dared ourselves to ask what liberation actually means. It has exposed the rot of our system and the truth about our failing democracies. We have been confronted with a painful reality that our leaders would rather torch international law, destroy what they told us was a rules-based order, intimidate and criminalise their own population, which we are witnessing in a very graphic way in the US, Germany, the UK, and in a lesser way, yes, now, here in Jersey, in our islands. Then demand the application of legal conventions that were created in the aftermath of the horrors of World War II in order to protect us all. Why is that? This is the real question. Why? Why are they endangering the lives of us all in order to protect a state that is not only confirmed by the highest court in the world as committing the crime of apartheid and maintaining an illegal occupation, but is now committing what numerous human rights organisations have already confirmed is a textbook case of genocide?
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Palestine! Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Once we come to understand the why, which is connected to our economic system and the oligarchy we are now all subjected to, we understand with complete clarity that our fate and that of the Palestinians is intertwined. Let us be under no illusions. We will become future victims of the military-industrial complex that builds its wealth on the backs of broken bodies and minds if we do not succeed in ending this genocide and holding those responsible to account.
Yes!
So I repeat, the burden of stopping this great crime of our century has fallen upon us, and we must respond accordingly for the love of humanity and for future generations. We might feel as Frodo did in Lord of the Rings when he said to Gandalf, "I wish it need not have happened in my time." But as Gandalf replied, so do I, and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. So friends, So friends, let us make our time here on this planet meaningful, valuable, something that we can look back on with pride by standing with the Palestinian community, with all people of conscience around the world, including our brave Israeli brothers and sisters who are taking to the streets, refusing to serve in the occupying forces, refusing to be accomplices. Let us meet this time with courage, so we need not have regrets in the future, and know that when we were tested, we stood firm for humanity in the knowledge, as Nelson Mandela, also once labelled a terrorist, said, we know all too well that our freedom is incomplete without that of the Palestinians.
Yeah!
And that is why we say, in our thousands, in our millions,
Free, free Palestine!
in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians.
In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians!
Thank you.
Woo!
Thanks, Nat.